Ever feel like your legs are carrying around invisible bowling balls by the time 3 o'clock in the afternoon rolls around? You sit down in your favorite armchair after a perfectly normal morning, and suddenly your lower legs feel heavy, swollen, throbbing, and just completely wiped out. If you are over the age of 60, there is a massive chance you have been told, or you have just assumed, that this is simply a part of getting older. We treat it like getting gray hair, needing reading glasses, or moving a little bit slower on a rainy Monday morning. We shrug our shoulders, prop our feet up on an ottoman, and accept that our best moving days might be behind us. But what if I told you that this heavy, swollen, exhausted sensation in your lower limbs is not just an unavoidable tax you have to pay for turning 60? What if ignoring this warning sign is actually, quietly, stealing your independence one afternoon at a time? It is a scary thought, but it is exactly what happens to thousands of older adults across America every single day. When people talk to a surgeon about this issue, they are often braced for bad news about their heart, or a scary diagnosis regarding clogged arteries. But what usually surprises folks when a doctor explains it in plain, simple English is that the root cause frequently has nothing to do with your heart, and it is not an arterial problem alone. Instead, the real culprit is a tiny, unsung group of muscles in your lower legs that have quietly gone on strike and stopped doing their daily job. There is a fundamental orthopedic and vascular principle that has been taught in medical schools for decades, yet it rarely makes it into the mainstream conversation. That principle is that your calf muscles act like a logic-defying second heart for your lower body. Think about it for a second. Your actual heart is a champion at pumping oxygen-rich blood all the way down to your toes. Gravity helps it out on the way down. But once that blood gets to your feet, it has to make a massive uphill journey all the way back up to your chest against the relentless pull of gravity. Your heart cannot pull that blood back up all by itself. It needs a pump at the bottom of the system. Every single time your calf muscles contract and relax, they act like a mechanical squeeze bulb, physically pushing that deoxygenated blood back up through your veins. When those muscles weaken from lifestyle changes, long stretches of sitting, or just the natural shifts that happen after 60, blood begins to pool around your ankles and lower legs. This pooling is the exact reason why swelling, deep aching, and that annoying heavy feeling always seem to show up together as a package deal. Back in 2021, a fascinating study was published in the Journal of Applied Physiology. Researchers took a close look at older adults who were struggling with mild circulation issues, and what they discovered was groundbreaking for anyone looking to reclaim their mobility. They found that targeted calf muscle activation completely transformed venous blood return in just a few short weeks. Here is the kicker, though. These participants were not out there pounding the pavement, running marathons, or sweating through high-intensity gym workouts. They were simply doing one incredibly basic, targeted movement that the vast majority of people completely overlook because it honestly looks too easy to actually matter. Now, does this mean that going for your daily walk is bad for you? Absolutely not. Walking is fantastic for your mind, your lungs, and your overall longevity. But walking by itself does not always give these specific lower leg muscles the highly clear, isolated signal they desperately need to fire up effectively, especially as the decades creep up on us. This is precisely why top-tier surgeons quietly recommend adding one incredibly specific sequence of exercises to your daily routine to support your leg circulation and kick that daily discomfort to the curb. Today I'm going to walk you through a brilliant 5-step movement sequence, starting incredibly gently and safely, exactly how a physical therapist or a specialist would teach it to an older patient in a clinical setting. If you stick around with me until the very end, you are going to see exactly why this simple routine can make your legs feel lighter, energized, and far more comfortable, all without needing a single piece of expensive gym equipment and without putting an ounce of painful strain on your joints. Before we dive into the deep end of these life-changing movements, if you have not hit that subscribe button yet, take a quick second to do it right now, and be sure to turn on that notification bell. That way you will never miss out on practical, life-changing health tips created specifically for your stage of life. If you find this information helpful as we go along, type a number 1 down in the comments section below. If it is not hitting the mark for you, type a 0, so I know exactly how to adjust and make much better content for you in the future. Let us start right at the beginning with exercise number 5, which is the gentle seated calf activation. This is the exact baseline exercise that many vascular and orthopedic surgeons start with when an older patient comes into their office complaining about heavy legs, ankles that look puffy by dinner time, or that deep, soul-crushing fatigue that settles in by the end of the day. When you look at this movement for the first time, it looks almost too basic to do anything, which is why almost everyone dismisses it. But do not let its simplicity fool you. This tiny, deliberate movement directly targets a muscle network that plays a foundational role in your systemic leg circulation after you hit 60. The beauty of this movement is that it is done completely while sitting safely in a chair with both of your feet planted flat on the floor. There is zero standing required, absolutely no balance challenge to worry about, and zero pressure or strain placed on your sensitive knee or hip joints. What you are doing here is simply and gently lifting your heels up off the ground while keeping the wide balls of your feet firmly anchored to the floor. When you execute this properly, your calf muscles tighten up at the top and then relax as you come down in a highly controlled, rhythmic way. In medical circles, these muscles are affectionately referred to as the venous pump of the lower extremities because their physical contraction acts like a syringe, pushing stagnant blood upward against the natural drag of gravity. In your day-to-day life, this matters significantly more than most people ever realize. When your calf muscles sit inactive or weaken over time, blood has nowhere to go, so it pools in the lowest points of your body. This fluid accumulation directly triggers the puffiness, the tight skin, the deep pressure, and that lead-heavy sensation that so many seniors describe. By actively strengthening and waking these muscles up, you are providing your body with a built-in defense mechanism that supports healthy circulation during long stretches of sitting, whether you are binging your favorite television show, reading a great book, or riding shotgun on a long car trip across state lines. The study from the Journal of Applied Physiology proved this beautifully by showing that when older adults with mild circulatory lag engaged in this targeted calf activation, their venous blood return improved dramatically over the course of several weeks. Again, they were not doing grueling workouts. They were utilizing simple, accessible seated movements that sent an unmistakable spark to the exact muscles responsible for keeping the blood moving. To practice this safely in the comfort of your own living room, sit up nice and tall in a sturdy, reliable chair that does not rock or roll. Place both of your feet flat on the floor, keeping them spaced out about hip-width apart so you have a solid foundation. From there, slowly lift your heels up toward the ceiling as high as you comfortably can without causing pain, making sure the toes and the front part of your feet stay connected to the rug. Once you reach the absolute top of the movement, pause for just a split second to feel that muscle engagement, and then lower your heels back down to the floor with total, absolute control. You want to move slowly and keep your breathing smooth, natural, and steady. If you ever start to feel a little charley horse or a muscle cramp coming on in your calf, do not panic. Just reduce how high you are lifting your heels, or take a brief 30-second break to let the muscle relax. One of the biggest and most common mistakes people make with this exercise is rushing through it like they are trying to win a race. Speed is absolutely not your friend here. Doing rapid, bouncy movements does not engage the muscle fibers properly and does not create the pump effect. Gentle, slow, controlled repetitions are infinitely more effective for boosting your circulation than fast, mindless bouncing. Another huge mistake is holding your breath while you lift. When you hold your breath, it increases pressure in your chest, which can actually hinder your circulation and make you feel a little lightheaded or dizzy. For older adults, mastering this simple seated movement builds a massive foundation for comfort, daily confidence, and long-term independence. It is a tool you can use every single day, even multiple times a day, without worrying about muscle fatigue or exhaustion. Many people notice that their legs begin to feel remarkably lighter, looser, and less swollen within just a couple of weeks of consistent daily practice. This gentle activation perfectly prepares your lower body for the next step in our sequence, where we begin to gently introduce joint mobility to help that freshly pumped blood travel even further up the leg. That brings us directly to exercise number 4, which is the supported ankle to knee flow. Once we have successfully woken up the calf muscles and got that second heart beating down below, the next logical step is to clear the highway so that blood can move freely through the joints that sit directly above them. This elegant flowing movement focuses on getting your ankles and your knees to work in perfect harmony, which is absolutely vital for ensuring smoother, uninhibited circulation in the lower limbs as we accumulate birthdays. Just like the first exercise, this movement is performed entirely while seated in a chair, keeping it incredibly safe, low stress, and completely approachable for anyone, regardless of your current fitness level. You start out sitting comfortably with your feet resting flat on the ground. Then, focusing on one leg at a time, you slowly slide your foot backward toward the base of the chair, allowing your knee to bend naturally. Once you have gone as far back as is comfortable, you smoothly change directions and slide that same foot forward along the floor until your leg is almost completely straight out in front of you. The motion should feel incredibly slow, fluid, and intentional. Think of it more like gently guiding your joints through a comfortable range of motion, rather than forcing or straining anything. As your knee bends and straightens through this smooth flow, the larger muscles surrounding the joint softly contract and release in a beautiful rhythm, acting like a secondary conveyor belt that helps the blood continue its journey back up toward your torso. In your everyday life, this matters immensely because so many of us spend hours upon hours sitting with our knees locked at a rigid 90-degree angle, barely moving an inch while we work on computers, do crafts, or watch the news. This prolonged lack of knee motion creates a literal traffic jam for your circulatory system, slowing blood flow down to a crawl and causing fluids to settle and swell right below the joint line. By restoring this natural, easy bending and straightening pattern, you are effectively breaking up that traffic jam and preventing fluid from stagnating in your calves and ankles. Extensive research summarized by the prestigious Cleveland Clinic has consistently shown that gentle, repeated joint movement significantly improves venous return, while drastically reducing stiffness in older populations, particularly when it is paired up with muscle activation below the knee. The golden rule to remember here is that intensity is not the goal. Regular, comfortable, pain-free motion is what keeps your joints properly lubricated and your surrounding tissues actively engaged in supporting your veins. To practice this flow correctly, sit upright in your chair and place both of your hands firmly on the sides of the seat or the armrests for an extra dose of stability. Slowly slide one foot back along the floor, letting your knee bend as far as it naturally wants to go without any pinching or pain. Pause for a beat, and then smoothly slide that foot forward, extending the leg out. Then switch over to the other leg and replicate the exact same motion. Keep your breathing perfectly steady and focus on keeping the transition between bending and straightening as smooth as silk. If you happen to feel any arthritis flare-ups or knee discomfort, just shorten the distance you slide your foot, focusing entirely on a smaller, completely pain-free zone. A very frequent mistake here is trying to push the knee way past its comfort zone, or moving the leg back and forth with jerky, rapid motions. This exercise should feel deeply soothing and therapeutic, not like a grueling workout test. Think of it as gently oiling a rusty hinge on an old door, rather than trying to test how strong the door is. For seniors, this simple joint flow does wonders for boosting your comfort and physical confidence when it comes time to stand up, walk out to the mailbox, or navigate a flight of steps. It perfectly builds upon the circulation benefits we unlocked with the seated calf raises, and it perfectly primes your legs for the next stage of our routine, where we transition to a standing position and allow balance and stability to enter the picture in a highly structured way. Now we move along to exercise number 3, which is the supported standing weight shift. Up to this point, we have successfully encouraged circulation through the calves, the ankles, and the knees, while staying safely seated. Now that the pump is primed and the joints are well lubricated, it is time to take things up a notch and help your legs safely relearn how to manage your actual body weight. This specific movement introduces the concept of standing in a highly controlled, ultra-safe environment, allowing you to reactivate your postural muscles without forcing your balance or your strength beyond what feels completely secure and comfortable for you today. To set this up properly, you are going to stand up and position yourself directly behind a heavy, sturdy kitchen chair or right next to a solid kitchen countertop, making sure your hands are resting lightly but firmly on the surface for constant support. Your feet should be spread out about hip-width apart, giving you a wide, stable base of support. From this position, you are going to very slowly and subtly shift your body weight over onto your right leg, feeling the pressure increase slightly through that foot. Then gently bring yourself back to the dead center, and then smoothly shift your weight over toward the left leg. The actual physical movement here is incredibly subtle, calm, and minimal. You are absolutely not lifting your feet off the ground, and you are not trying to perform a scary, single-leg balancing act. You are simply teaching the muscles in your legs, ankles, and hips how to share and transfer the load of your body in a smooth, synchronized fashion. In our day-to-day existence, this weight-shifting capability is nothing short of essential for basic survival and independence. Every single step you take down a hallway, every time you turn around to look at something behind you, or every time you adjust your stance while standing in line at the grocery store, your body is required to transfer weight from one side to the other. When this natural process becomes hesitant, shaky, or uneven due to weakness, your circulation can slow down to a crawl, and your risk of developing severe joint stiffness or experiencing an accidental fall skyrockets, especially after you have been sitting on the couch for a long time. Official clinical guidance from the world-renowned Mayo Clinic strongly emphasizes that supported standing movements like these do wonders for improving lower limb circulation and sharpening neuromuscular coordination in older adults, particularly for individuals who have lost a bit of confidence in their balance over the years. These gentle, rhythmic shifts cause the deep, stabilizing muscles of your legs to contract in an easy, alternating cadence, which naturally encourages blood to flow upward without the heavy cardiovascular strain or exhaustion that comes with traditional, intense exercise routines. To practice this safely, stand tall with your shoulders relaxed, your chest open, and your gaze looking straight ahead rather than staring down at your toes. Slowly shift your weight slightly to the right side, taking a moment to feel the weight distribution through your right foot, then return smoothly back to the center line. Next, shift easily over to the left side and return once again to the center. Keep the tempo incredibly slow, steady, and predictable, making sure you are breathing deeply and naturally throughout the process. If you ever feel even slightly unsteady or nervous, all you have to do is reduce the size of your side-to-side shift, or press down a bit firmer with your hands on the chair or counter to take some of the weight off your legs. A massive mistake people make when trying this is locking out their knees tightly or leaning their entire upper torso way out to the side like a tilting tower. You want your upper body to remain relatively quiet and upright. The goal here is pure, controlled precision, not massive range of motion or speed. Try to visualize your body weight moving like the slow, soothing pendulum of a grandfather clock, perfectly smooth, completely predictable, and entirely under your control. For older adults, dedicating just a few minutes to this exercise provides an incredible boost to your equilibrium, your vascular circulation, and your overall confidence when standing on your own 2 feet. It beautifully bridges the gap between the seated exercises we started with and the more functional, real-world movements we are about to tackle next. This brings us beautifully to exercise number 2, which is the chair-assisted sit to stand. Now that your legs have been thoroughly reactivated, your joints are loose, and your balance has been introduced to gravity, it is time to supercharge your circulation using a movement that directly mirrors one of the most frequent actions you perform in your everyday life. This exercise focuses on the art of standing up from a chair with absolute control, which stands as one of the single most critical physical actions for preserving both lower body muscle strength and healthy, vibrant blood flow after you hit 60. This movement begins back in a seated position, on a sturdy, non-folding chair. You want to make sure your feet are planted flat on the floor and positioned slightly behind your knees, which gives you the mechanical leverage you need to rise safely. From this starting point, you are going to gently lean your upper body forward from the hips, just enough to bring your center of gravity directly over your feet. Then, using the powerful muscles in your thighs and glutes, you slowly rise up to a full, proud standing position. Once you are standing completely upright,